Hello and welcome to the fan panel show here on Pitch. Real special episode this week. I'm quite fortunate enough to be joined by former Chelsea, Leeds United, Stoke City and Reading star Michael Duberry. How are you, Dubes? You all right, mate?
Well, I'm good, man. I'm good. You okay?
Yeah, I'm all right. Good to have you with us. We're also joined by Arsenal fan Stephen. Looks like he's working at the call centre as well, double dueling our show. How are you, son? You okay?
I'm okay, thank you, mate. Pleased to be back on.
Love that. Really appreciate you making a bit of time for us, son. Today, gentlemen, I'd like to talk and cover a range of subjects in the Premier League. As we've got Michael Duberry on, I think it's only right that we start with Leeds United, the downfall of Bielsa ball. I mean, if you would have predicted this a year ago, you probably would have been laughed off 18 months ago. Such was the impact of Bielsa. Let's talk a little bit about where it went wrong. Dubes, what's happened? Where's it gone wrong from Bielsa?
I don't know. Part of me believes that he was so set on his way of playing, entertaining, yes, but just left himself so open. The last few games, the goals conceded, he just couldn't find another way of playing. Whether he stuck to what he believed in, we've seen the great Arsene Wenger do the same thing and keep his philosophy in playing football. And maybe thought he could have turned it around. But also, you do look and think they had a few injuries, core players. And if you're not in that bracket of top 6 with that budget, you suffer and you can't bring in the players to replace those core players. They had their captain, they had Bamford out, they had Phillips out, and in the end, it's like you can't replace those players that are vital to your success and the way you play. So maybe he's hoping to get them back and turn it around. But in the meantime, they just kept, conceding goals, couldn't turn it around. And yeah, it's not good, but he's carved out a legacy at the club. He's imprinted his name around the stadium. It was etching for success, and he's done that. It's just a shame it sort of ended how it does. But we all know managers, it always ends that sort of way, innit? It's like the mafia, right? You only get out one way, don't you? Do you know what I mean? It's death or do you know, one way. So so it was a sad way.
Now, 5 wins from 26 from Marcelo Bielsa. Not good enough in terms of a win ratio. I know Leeds fans will be sentimental with the departure of Bielsa, but the stats don't lie. The league table doesn't lie. Where's it gone wrong for Bielsa, Stephen, in your opinion, son?
It's a good question, really, and like Michael said, that it's kind of sad, and it's not the first time we've seen a situation like this in football. I cast my mind back to when Di Matteo won the Champions League, and then the following season, he was out of a job. I can't remember halfway through the season or whatever it was, maybe earlier. Now, maybe he wasn't the right man for the job, but there's kind of no sentiment, I don't believe, in football. I understand that. But, we've seen other examples, Ranieri at Leicester pulling off an absolute miracle and losing his job the following season. And I think the problem is that when you do, you drag a team like Leeds back into a huge monster of a team like Leeds back into the top flight, the expectation increases, and therefore if you look at the results, they were alarming, and at that rate Leeds would have been well dragged into and they have been well dragged into a relegation fight now. So it gets to the point where the money in the game now, the owners have to look and say, what do we do to keep Leeds in the league, and on current form they're not going to stay in there. So it's a shame. I think, like Michael said, they missed a couple of, they missed some key players. I don't think Calvin Phillips has played, and they just don't seem to be able to. I mean, they got up for the Man United game, and they still lost that, and they still lost it heavily. And I think that was the problem, is that they now need to bring in somebody, and they have appointed somebody that I hope can actually keep them in the league, because I've been pleased. It's nice to have Leeds back. They're a huge club, huge following, and it would be a shame to see them go.
Let's talk a little bit about another club that have been in freefall this season. That's Everton Football Club. A lot of people anticipated them with the players that they had to make a real stamp on things this season. They started off very well. Seem to be in real trouble. Frank Lampard already writing could be on the wall. I'm hearing that there's a bit of unrest as well amongst some of the players. Let's talk a little bit about Everton. Dubes, give me your take on it, mate.
I think with Everton, I just think they've bought badly. And they've changed managers who then come in and bought they've not had a settled way of playing. They flirt between wanting to be near the top, so they want to play a free flowing bit of football, but at the same time they're not quite there, and they don't have the players then to dig in and dog like the rest in the bottom half of the table. So they sit in this in between sort of place. They changed their manager a little bit. They buy into something else. So the players they have there, every manager's been backed. They've bought lots of players. They've bought and they've spent. But the way they've played, and now they find themselves where it hasn't worked. You've got this bit of that manager, that one coming in, says nothing's settled. And now they're in that dogfight. And from someone that's been in that sort of dogfight, you need players to grind and want to be able to roll your sleeves up and be able to go there. And some of their players are more suited for the top end and, a team comfortable and, come April, they're like, okay, we've got nothing to fight for, so we can play it out. Come April, you need to roll your sleeves up and you've got a 6-pointer against Burnley. Are they going to be those sort of players to get them out? And I don't look and think they're there, and they've got quality players, but now it's not about quality, it's about hard work, graft, and being able to roll your sleeves up and fight for every point that's available. And some of them teams down there have the players that are used to that, and some of the teams have players that are not.
Dubes, is it too big of a job for Frank Lampard at this stage in his career?
It's going to be a huge ask to maybe give up all your philosophies on football to just get players. You become the motivator, the one to G them up, to get them going, and that's your main focus now. Is to get players to be up for it, select the players that's right. Maybe not. It's not even maybe based on talent. Maybe based on application, attitude, and the ones that graft, the ones that want to run and work for you. So it'd be a big ask. Whether it's too big, he's being judged on, his time at Chelsea come to an abrupt end. They said there was that bit too quick, too soon. He's got himself another opportunity in the Premier League, which, not, easy to come by. And now he's got to make this work. He has to make it work. Do you know what I mean? Because every manager knows that Championship is no easy task to get out of. It's horrible, the crabs in a barrel sort of scenario where everyone's putting each other down. So you get in there and it's like, yeah. And then you're gonna have to find different players to like for Championship, and he's been there with Derby and he's got close, but you need that Championship player knowledge. And then if you get up, you've got to buy another set of players to deal with the Premier League. So it's a big ask, but I'm sure as a player who's confident, as a manager, I'm sure he's confident why he took the job. He saw full and well what he was getting himself into. But yeah, I don't know. It's a big ask.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. And I just want to point out that Everton were in a real bad way before Lampard has joined the club. So he's not by any stretch of the imagination taking the full pelt of this. It's just interesting to see if he's the man to get him out of it. Stephen, what's your take on it?
Yeah, on the last show, I kind of predicted, and it's raised a few eyebrows that Everton would be pulled in and actually tip them to maybe to go down. I'm not sure of that because I think Leeds would probably their form would be really concerning at this moment in time up at Ellen Road, but. Yeah, I have to agree. Like, I don't think they've got some really talented and top quality players. There's no argument there, and they've spent a lot of money on bringing them in. Again, I don't think some of the recruitment's great. As an Arsenal fan, I was surprised when they parted with almost 40 million quid to bring Iwobi in. He wasn't a bad player for Arsenal, but I didn't think. Of all the crop of players we had that we were probably prepared to sell at that time, that he would be the one that sort of raked in the most money. I've got to be honest, but I don't think he hasn't had experience of a relegation battle. You look at Burnley; they're hardened, and I can't see anything but them managing to claw their way out of it. And again, if Everton were to go down, you really fear for them. There's been some absolutely huge clubs that have gone down and struggled to make it straight back up. So, they've got some. They can't. So I hear I haven't really checked the stats, but so I hear they can't even win a throw on away from of Goodison Park at the moment, according to a couple of their fans that I know. So, their home form is going to be absolutely critical in terms of their survival. Again, big club. Do we want to see them go down? Probably not. It would be a shame, but they're in real trouble at the moment. And you hope. I like Frank. I hope that he can turn it around. But you do fear for them.
Yeah, I agree. And if you look at their run of fixtures, I was listening to you, Stephen, but I was also having a little look at the games coming up for Everton. So you've got Tottenham away, Wolves at home, Newcastle at home, Watford at home. Sorry, Watford away, West Ham away, Man United away, Crystal Palace away.
Wow.
Liverpool away, Chelsea away. They are big. There's a big run of games there.
They're banging trouble.
You look at them games. How many points can you predict Everton actually taking out of those games? I'm saying maybe 4 to 6 points.
4 to 6, exactly what I was thinking. 4 to 6.
It's worrying. It is worrying if you look at the other teams' fixtures and games as well. Be very concerned. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the race for the top 4. Now, Stephen, me and you are both Arsenal fans, so we've got a little bit of bias on it. So that's why we've got Dubes here to keep us on track. I mean, it's playing out quite interesting. It's like a league within a league. So you've got the top sides battling out. You've then got the top 4 sides, and then those underneath, then the relegation battle. In this top 4 now, we've seen Arsenal got 3 games in hand on the rivals. Are Arsenal in a prominent position to take that Champions League spot as things stand? And I'm going to go initially to Dubes on this. What are you thinking?
Yeah, they've got themselves in a nice position. They've quietly just gone about just doing their thing. They win their games in hands, and they, without doing anything like wow, they're like in there, right? Maybe even overtake Chelsea. I think the points were last time I saw. So they're doing well. But their problem is a little bit inconsistency. When I look at Arsenal, listen, I'm a North London boy, so I've got many friends at Arsenal, and to be honest with you, it's pleasing the way things are going. So, my WhatsApp is just brilliant. I'm sending loads of memes to my Arsenal friends and laughing, and we're winning trophies over at Stamford Bridge. So it's brilliant. Long may it continue. But on a serious note, I look and think he's just quietly going about his business. Maybe the expectation was more, because he's in a good position. I don't know. He just doesn't seem to me, for someone on the outside, doesn't look like he's like, wow. He's not wowed me, but he's there and thereabouts. So I think they're in a great position. But also people think, let's get the points on the board. So I think they're in a good position to get that last 4th spot. But it's consistency and timing.
Stephen, you're a season ticket holder at Arsenal. The fans, Arteta in, Arteta out, seems to change more than Phil Foden's haircut. What's the latest? Where do we stand on it, or what's going on in the terraces?
It's interesting because I think when you're close to your club, you kind of get my what's going on. My perception of what's going on at other clubs is maybe not the reality if we spoke to fans of that club. But at Arsenal, I have to say, since the turn of the year, and I think the game when we played Man City, and for 50, would be laughed out the room really, but for 55 minutes we were on top, and we were on top with 11v11, and then the game changed with the sending off, and actually we held our own. We were unlucky to lose right at the death, but from then on, apart from the Burnley game at home, when I felt like I actually felt watching the Burnley game that we wouldn't make the top 4, and I felt that it would be because we didn't have the firepower up front. But what he seemed to do is somehow galvanise a young team and find ways to win games. Okay, Lacazette won the game for us on Thursday, but he's found a way to win games with the players that he's got at his disposal. And I have to say, like Michael said, the consistency will be the key. If we can be consistent, we've got some big games coming up, but apart from Chelsea away, we've got United at home, Liverpool at home. Unfortunately, there are games in hand. Tottenham away. They're almost 3 swings at the moment if you look at the games we've got in hand. But I do feel that the Watford's away, that we've got a good chance to go there and win on Sunday. I actually think that we are in pole position to take that fourth spot, and it'll be a tremendous season for Arteta if we can get that.
Does that make the Tottenham game a 6-pointer, especially with the way we played in the first North London derby? Absolutely brilliant. With them games in hand, does it make the crucial Tottenham game even more important?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't won at the new stadium, Tottenham's new stadium yet, which would be, firstly, and it is a good time to play Tottenham. Their form is crazy. It's it's so up and down. I mean, no one would have backed them to win at the Etihad, and then they can go to Burnley and lose, they can go to Middlesbrough and lose, and I actually think on another note that Conte might actually walk away from that role. I feel like he's an absolute winner, and I think he knows the job is a lot bigger than perhaps he anticipated when he walked in. But that's another story. I think that is a 6-pointer for us, and I think if we were to win there, that would pretty much put their hopes to bed. And I think it will be between us and perhaps Manchester United sort of ultimately. But they drew at home with Watford at the weekend, so it's like everybody wants to hand it to each other, and that's the that's the crazy thing. So the consistency will be key to the end of the season.
I want to look a little bit at a competition we do on the Pitch Football app called Foreplay. That I don't make the names up before you ask. Yeah. Basically, I want to pick out some games for the weekend, and I'd like to get some predictions from you both while I've got you here. So just looking at the games coming up, the games that I like Leicester City versus Leeds United. I like Burnley Chelsea, excuse me. I like Liverpool West Ham. And I like Man City, Man United. I think they're good games to predict on. So I'm going to go initially first. I'm going to go Leicester City, Leeds. I'm going for a 2-0 Leicester win. Dubes, what are you thinking?
I do see I would have said a wide margin. Leeds conceding goals. New manager trying to make it a little bit different. So I'm just going to go different and say 2-1.
What, Leicester?
No, I'm going to say 1-0. 1-0 draw.
Controversial. Steve, what are you thinking, mate?
Yeah, I think that's optimistic, and that's the Leeds in Michael Pratt's out. I think that would be 3-0 to Leicester.
Yeah.
New manager, though, man. New manager
Oh,
bounce.
he's going to need a miracle, I think.
New manager. Play defensive. That's what I see him doing.
Okay. Chelsea go to Burnley. Big game for Burnley. How do we score that? I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. Burnley survival mode. What are you thinking, Dukes?
Burnley haven't been so strong at home this season. It used to be their fortress. They've been a bit weak and a little bit. That's been the place that you can go and get points. And I'm saying 2-0 Chelsea.
2-0 Chelsea. What are you thinking, Steve?
It's one of those games where I could genuinely see Burnley hanging on to gain a point, but at the same time, I could see Chelsea winning it in the 94th minute. They've done that a couple of times this season. I'm going to go with, after the disappointment of Sunday and everything that's going on around the club at the moment, Abramovich putting the club up for sale, I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw.
Interesting. Okay. Game number 3. Liverpool West Ham. Big one for West Ham if they're to close the gap. Liverpool, as you know, title race. They're not going to be looking to drop any points. I'm going to go 2-1 Liverpool in that game. I think Liverpool have too much on the day at home. Dubes, what are you thinking?
3-1 Liverpool. 3-1 Liverpool. Just think hard. Yeah, 3-1.
Steve, what are you saying?
Well, I feel like I want to sit on the fence with this one a little bit. I definitely think Liverpool will win. They're now, staring down the barrel of a potential quadruple. I don't want to get carried away for their fans, but it is potentially on the cards, especially as they're in such good form. I think Liverpool will win. I do think it will be either 2 or 3-1. You both said those. I'm going to go for 2-1 to Liverpool.
Okay. Biggest game of the weekend, in my opinion. I will be at the game, attending for Pitch Football, messing about with the fans a little bit and getting amongst it, is the Manchester derby. Man United, Man City at the Etihad. Tough one. I'm going to go 4-1 City. I think it's going to be a real bad day for United, if I'm being brutally honest. I think City are going to absolutely tear them a new one. 4-1 City. And that completes my quadruple pick. What are you thinking, Dubes?
I think there's going to be goals. It's Manchester derby. Going to be goals. Don't think United will roll over. I think that if any bit of energy, they're suffer up for this. I'm going to say I'm going to go 4-2 or 3-2. I'm going to say a goal. It's going to be a goals involved. I'm going to go 4-2. Yeah, 4-2. I'll go goals.
4-2 City for Dubes. Steve, the penultimate pick, what are you thinking?
Again, this one, you've seen this one, like you said, City absolutely demolished them. We've seen that at the Etihad, and we've also seen United go up there at 7 or 8-1 and win 1-0 on probably more than one occasion. I think they won 3-2 up there as well a few years back. So it could go either way. I just think if you look at the form of Manchester United, I know City's home form's been a bit mixed, but if you go for look at the form of Man United, they couldn't get over the line against Watford. I'm not sure if they've got the return leg against Atletico Madrid the following week. I think that City will win. I don't necessarily know it'd be a goal fest. I think maybe I'm going to say 3-1 to City.
Okay. I want to take a special look at the League Cup final. Liverpool-Chelsea. In particular, I want to look at the controversy regarding the goalkeeper changes. Quite a bizarre thing. I know Chelsea have done it in the past, but in finals, but quite a bizarre thing. I'd like to hear your take on it. I'm going to start initially with you, Stephen, on this. What did you make of the League Cup final?
Well, I thought it was a cracking 0-0. Firstly, the Lukaku offside. I mean, I'm not a Chelsea fan, clearly, but I have to say, I think VAR's brought in to highlight clear and obvious errors, and when you're looking at millimeters offside and things like that, it detracts from what it's there to do. At first glance, to the naked eye, and I could be wrong, I thought he looked onside to me, and when they showed the replay, I thought this goal will be given. And obviously he was maybe, I don't know, half a centimetre offside or whatever it was they worked out. But I think that detracts from I felt like we had 3 or 4 disallowed goals in the game, but it was an entertaining 0-0 draw. No one has actually mentioned the fact that the goalkeeper, I think it was Mendy, was in goal. He had a terrific game, but no one's maybe got injured towards the end of the game. No one's kind of said that, and that's maybe what had made the change. I think ultimately it probably was tactical, but I don't really understand it. I know that he's played for them in a couple of penalty shootouts they've won, but I watched the final of the League Cup where he stayed on against Man City and he couldn't get anywhere near a penalty, and he's faced 10 or 11 penalties and not really got near any of them. So I don't really understand it. I think if Mendy was fit, I would have kept him in. He was having a good game, but I guess they live and die by these decisions, and ultimately it's Kepa that's blazed it over and handed the trophy to Liverpool.
It's not the first time that Kepa Arrizabalaga has been brought on to replace Mendy for pens. So that's quite an interesting thing in itself. Mendy as well, coming back off the African Cup of Nations, tremendous form, penalty shootout win. Just made logical sense to keep him on the pitch. I'm a bit baffled by it. What's your take on it, Dubes?
You know what? It's like personally, like Tuchel sees these players every day, and he's got inside knowledge that we don't. And it's something that obviously he's done, and it comes off. He's a hero, tactical genius. It doesn't, and he lives by his decision. Mendy was playing so well, but then in your head you're thinking that Kepa's this penalty saving genius, which didn't turn out to be, because as we say, he didn't get near any of them. You'd have backed Mendy to do the same. My personal opinion, I just got a conversation with friends, and I'm like, if I'm honest, it's ironic. Kepa didn't come off to let a goalkeeper that was supposed to be better at saving penalties come on for him last time, saying, no, I'm not coming off. And so, my thing, if I was part of that club, he wouldn't be playing right now, because I'd show the whole squad that you don't do that. No, never in my life of football have I seen, grassroots, even the parents go, no, I'll drag him off. He's coming off. You say, come off. So he shouldn't even been in that position. And, you know, for him to come on, you know, trying to do the old mind tricks, and, you know, you saw every Liverpool player staring at him like, what are you doing? Every time they blasted a penalty in. And in the end, it was him that blasted it over. But, you know, Tuchel, I'm not going to question a man that's done so much so soon for a club. Every decision he's done has worked out. I think, you know, it's very easy. Every time something go wrong, everyone starts questioning someone's decisions. That's what he gets paid for. I'm sure he'd back his decision. Every player will back the manager's decision, because so far what he's done has paid off. And, you know, bar 11 great penalties from Liverpool, it might have been a different story. You know, and like we said, like, you know, I'll go over the offside decisions with VAR. Like, it's like, the only thing I would say with that, I think it's got good and bad points. The only thing I'd say with the offside is it's consistent. And it's the one thing about VAR that's happened all through its instruction. That blue line, that red line, it's been consistent with every decision. And like it or not, you know, 1 millimeter, it's been consistent. You know, what isn't consistent is, I think that, you know, on the Matip goal, when they gave Van Dijk offside, if they said he's obstruction, I would have said that, yeah, fair enough. They gave him offside. It wasn't clear. When it comes to human decisions, that VAR is struggles. But with the blue and red line thing, it's at least it's consistent, that everyone's got the same moan, and it's not done any different. It's a machine doing one line blue, one line red, and if it's the blue line's over the red line, it's offside. So at least that is one consistent thing about the VAR. Everything else is just seems to be inconsistent and human error. But yeah, the Kepa situation, you know, you just back the manager. His decisions are working so far. Great penalty shootout. And if you're scoring all 11 goals, your goalkeeper as well, you can't argue. Put your hands up and say we got beat by a better team.
I want to cast your mind back to the League Cup final, as you mentioned, Duberry, when Kepa refused to come off for penalty expert Willy Caballero in what would have been his last ever game for Chelsea. Marquee moment he robbed that man of. Left a bad taste with me at the time, even though I'm not a Chelsea fan. I'm a fan of football. And I felt a little bit for Willy Caballero. I thought it was a bad thing to do to your teammate, bad thing to do to your team. How ironic is it that in exactly the same stage, at exactly the same point of the season, Kepa Arrizabalaga got his ironic rewards from life. It went full circle.
Yeah.
Funny old thing how life and football works at times, isn't it?
I felt more for Sarri. Seeing a manager storm down the tunnel like, I'm not doing this anymore. It was quite embarrassing for a Chelsea fan, as a football fan of your club. You never want anything to bring embarrassment and stuff to your club. It looks bad. And I just thought, what you're doing as a former pro, I'm like, if someone says come off, you don't like it, come off. Don't shake his hand. Have a little spat on the sulk in the dugout. But you come off, and just doing that, it just looked bad. You know, it looked really bad. You know, robbing someone of their last game, and not the thing is, you're not putting your team first. You're putting yourself first. That was the thing, and you saw how everyone went round him and put him before the team when he missed, and how it was. And yes, someone said he might have been young, he might have been whatever it is, and he's learnt from it. But you know, young or not, you know, someone says come off, you come off. That's one thing that you know as a young player. If the manager says come off, you come off, and you argue later and you dispute it later. But yeah, listen, I wasn't glad that he missed. I wasn't glad he got comeuppance or karma, whatever it is. I wanted obviously want Chelsea to win. I wanted him to save every penalty and score his. But like I say, I stick by Tuchel's decisions, and it's worked well for him. And I think he's privy to knowledge that we don't know and don't see, working with these players day in, day out.
Interesting to know how much that Kepa situation with the penalty added to the demise of Sarri. Interesting.
I think it was before that.
All adds to the mix. Okay, while we're on the subject of Chelsea, I'd like to speak a little bit about Roman Abramovich. The club is up for sale. We've seen maybe his time and era at the club is going to go. It's been a game changer for Chelsea over the years. He's been the one person that's sort of backed the club beyond belief, if you like. Stephen, where do you stand on it? Do you think he'll go? What's your thoughts on it all?
Yeah, I mean, we have to credit him as an Arsenal fan, who's watched our team kind of be turned into a business, a profitable business over the last. I know we had to pay for the stadium. I'm aware of that, but we have, even in the last 6 or 7 years, we haven't invested at the level of the top clubs, and that's why we've fallen away. And as a football fan, it doesn't really matter what you're spending, who you're bringing in. We want to be in the Champions League finals. I remember 2006, what an evening that was. I mean, we lost, it was heartbreaking, but just that run to get there, the excitement and winning the leagues that we won and things like that. That, as a football fan, that's what you want. You want those memories. You want them excellent the cup finals and all those great times, and I feel like the one thing that Chelsea fans would have to say about Roman Abramovich is he's put his money where his mouth is, and they've played in Champions League. In fact, they've won 2 Champions Leagues. They've won Premier League titles. They've put teams out there that are formidable, and he is clearly a supporter of the football club. I know he's got a lot of money, but still he's had to put it into the club. He's had to invest it into the club. So what's going on, obviously the terrible things that are going on in the world at the moment, have put him and Chelsea in a position where this is kind of untenable now, understandably. And maybe who knows how long he planned to stay anyway. So he's put the club up for sale. He's prepared to listen to offers. Sounds terrible. As an Arsenal fan, I'd like someone to come in like a Kroenke who just wants to try and spin some profit out of the club. It's about time someone else tasted that kind of business model. But no, jokes aside, I think the question for me is kind of what is the club worth now? Obviously, you look at the stadium, and kind of how they would probably want to develop that. A new owner would probably want to develop that for the increased revenues and incomes and things like that. And it's a really interesting time for Chelsea. I think there's probably a bit of anxiety around the club, certainly around the fan base at the moment. But unfortunately, it's the only real solution at the moment to the world affairs that the state the world is in. So we will see how it plays out.
Dubes, I know with the connection you've got with Chelsea, you're always going to be connected and love that club. Can you give me your take on how things are playing out at the moment and how you see it?
Yeah, I think just the sudden abrupt and the sudden news of like how the whole structure of the club will be changed is massive. Ask any business that says, okay, the framework, the decision making will be changed from this point on, is going to have a huge effect. And someone else coming in will have their own ideas of how to run a football club and a business, and want to put their own stamp on it. So it's gonna change massively on everything, including players coming in, players going out. The structure of the club, from the academy up all the way to the first team. So as much as someone says, I don't want to change anything, I like the model, but when decisions are there to be made, it's their money, it's their spend, and they're going to do it their way. And Abramovich has been a huge plus for the club, as far as that he's there, but he can step back, he makes decisions, and the success in what he does, and even to the point of when his time of when to hire and fire a manager, it's always worked. It's always worked for him. So he's that is, not every chairman gets that right. And we spoke about Roberto. He won in the Champions League less than a year into it. He's gone, but then someone comes in and there's more success. So the model in what he does is, in his hiring and firing has worked. Someone comes in and has a different view on how to have success, and using their background in whatever business industry they're coming from. So it's going to be massively different. It just changes, players, they've got this connection with Roman, and it's just going to change a lot. And as much as people say it shouldn't change players in the field, being a player, you feel it, it. He's not around the place, that he's around the place. He's there, he's not there. So it'll change a lot, and the club will need to get settled very quickly in order to still compete with the ongoing fast-growing movement of the Premier League, especially when you've got Man City and Liverpool taking strides. You've got other clubs that are trying to grow and keep up, that are fast up and coming as well. So it'll have a huge effect, and you just hope that the club stays with the momentum they're in on. So, you know, because you look at the trophies he's won in his time there, he took the club to another level. You know, the club was like a good European contender when I was there, and he's took them to world level, you know, since he's taken over. So, and the players and the people he's bringing in is different level.
Got mixed emotions about Roman's reign at Chelsea. For me, when I think about stuff, I always think about the Invincibles. I think about that date on May the 15th when they were crowned the first team in England to go undefeated all season. And I also think how many trophies did Roman's reign take away from Arsenal? How much did that big spending impact that squad that we built, that era, that dominance? And a bit of me is pleased for Roman and the success that he's had, but a bit of me also thinks like we didn't have financial fair play rules back then. We didn't have sponsorship limits. There's so many things that, because of the way their business model was, that the game's had to change and adapt to. So I think for everything that's been good about his reign, sometimes it maybe hasn't been so good for the rest of the league. It's interesting.
But you do realize on that point, you do realise that there were big spending chairmen and football clubs before Roman. He was just buying from abroad, you know, and I think that the people have spent big. We see it now in you know, we've seen chairmen with open checkbooks and people buy badly. I think that what he has been good at is not only spending, it's been his hiring, and he's and that's where clubs struggle, you know, in their recruitment. Is, you know, the best businesses and the best teams have the best people in their positions. His recruitment, his football, head of football development, all the positions he's had has been made it great that he can get the right people in. So yes, he's had an open checkbook, but if you look at the model of the club, everyone sees a spend, but the model of the club is we develop and then we move them on and we get money from there. So there's these little 10 million, 20 million pound players that are being sold, recouping the money that generate for the players that, so there's a business model there. Remember, he hasn't doing, if you look at his spend, he's not just been open checkbook, he's made Chelsea a business that's like kind of like not self-sufficient, but it's getting there, it's turning over. So there's money coming in here and spending here, whereas other clubs are just spending. So if you look at his business model in what he's done with the club, it's amazing. And he's done it on the slide. People just imagine him coming in and with the big Drogbas, the big Duff and all them big transfers that come in straight away. But after that, everything was like, he's put things in place, and now Chelsea like generate the money from selling players.
There's been some shrewd business over the years from Chelsea. They've spent some big bucks. They've also made some very clever signings.
Yeah.
Also, like you mentioned, developed the infrastructure to have a conveyor belt of players that are Premier League, League One, Serie A ready, that they can recoup the money on. I find it hard to attach that romanticism to Chelsea as I would with Blackburn when they won the league. I just think there's a big difference from a local steel tycoon investing in his boyhood club than there is, say, a Russian oil glark changing the face of football. I know in no way disrespecting what he's done and what Chelsea have achieved. I admire it. But there's a part of me that thinks, what would have happened without Roman? Where would the Premier League and where would it have gone? It's an interesting equation, I guess.
It's a great debate because people are falling in love with Pep, and then people love his football, but he recruits on big spending.
Yeah,
but people love his brand of football. You know, the chairmans are in the background, so you just see Pep. So it's a lot where people fall in love for different reasons. And, you know, the way that Pep spends and having two in each position worth £100 million, but everyone loves the brand and everyone loves that bit of football. But the way he spends, and you look at how much he spends, it's irrelevant because we just love the brand of football. We love the manager at charge, and you don't really associate with the chairman and the sheiks that spending the money. So it's interesting how, you know, people's perception is always often their reality, but how it is seen in the different football clubs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's really interesting. Just coming on the subject of Pep Guardiola, I'm no doubt, again, don't want to come across negative, but if you look at the players he's had at his disposal every time he's been in charge of a top tier team, it's elite. It's crazy. It really is. I'd love to see how just for one season or 2 seasons he managed to rebuild a team like Leeds, for instance, and how he would deal with that. Just don't know. I think sometimes the finances and the stuff at people's disposal is so unlimited, it's hard to judge their work, I guess. Same as you would maybe someone of less means. All up for debate anyway, gentlemen. I've got to say, it's been a great pleasure to spend some time with you both. I really do appreciate it. And if you're watching this at home, please get a chance to download our Pitch Football app. It's completely free to your phones and homes. We have loads of giveaways, competitions, the foreplay stuff, as well as some exclusive shows and content. So just want to say thank you ever so much to Michael Duberry for his time today, sir. And I'm really enjoying watching and following your progress with Made Leaders. Make sure you're aware and check out Made Leaders for all the work that Dubes is doing in his community and wider. Also, thanks very much to our regular pundit nowadays, Stephen. Fantastic to have you on with us today, mate. And hopefully we get a chance to converse again.
Nice to see you wearing blue, Stephen. Not you. I mean, nice to see you wearing blue. Well done representing. That's good.
I knew you were coming on.
Listen, I appreciate it, lads. All jokes aside, it's great to debate and talk football with you both. You're great humans. And let's have a catch up again in the future. Thank you very much. Take it easy.
Nice one. Have a good one.
Thanks, chaps. Take care.